So if you're starting out a new career, I know and I understand, I can relate with that curiosity, and you have like several questions running through your head. You need answers to them. So let's call this session a Q&A session. Now, I compiled just 10 questions that I feel like people have asked me that are quite similar as well. So I'll be answering these questions. And if you think that I've not even like answered your question, you can actually drop it in the comment section. I would do my best to answer your question. So let's get into what these questions are. And I do hope that I'm able to answer your question by the end of this video. Starting out my career in design, I had like a lot of questions. I would surf the internet like like my life depended on it, because I was looking for answers. I had doubts. I was curious. I wanted to be sure if I was doing the right thing. I wanted to be sure if I was doing the right thing the right way, right? Like, so I had like so many questions. So I can simply relate to some of those questions. So I will be answering based on my experience so far and based on my perspective so far. So if you are not pleased with the answer, you can let me know your perspective as well. Everybody can learn. Some other people can learn from it as well. So what is the first question? The first one is, I know how to use Figma. Would I consider myself a product designer? The answer is no. Like, I think I say this all the time with everybody that have asked me that same question. If you are starting product designing as a course, Figma should not be the first thing that you're opening. Like, it's more like the last step to it. It's a tool. It's literally a tool. Like, Figma, we have all the software that are like Figma, but people really don't pay attention to them. We have Adobe, SD. You can use several tool to interpret your design. The reason why Figma is used today, like a lot today, is because it's quite easy to use. It's a very good platform, like all-in-one platform for designers. So you don't have to use several tools because Figma has everything in it. But is that the only thing you need to learn to be a product designer? The answer is no. Let's say product designer, UX designer. If you want to just be a UI designer, like you want to be designing interface, yeah, you can just go ahead and learn Figma, right? And just know how to interpret people will give you content and they just interpret it correctly. However, to make decisions, that means people have even make the decision for you, because if you are just a UI designer, there's always a UX designer that is making the decision that will guide whatever output you would put in. But to be a product designer, Figma should not be the first thing that you should consider. There are other things you need to pay attention to. You need to understand research, you need to understand design thinking process. So don't start with Figma, start with understanding the basics of product design. There's like a whole lot, like jumping to Figma is just like, no, please don't. I get it, like there's that temptation of just opening Figma, learning Figma. I've made that mistake as well, till I had to not retrace my step and I had to start from the beginning. If you open YouTube and you type UI design, you would see a lot of Figma tutorials, which can also, be misleading. The thing is, do not just go straight to Figma. Please take your time. There are several steps to being a product designer. You can read more of articles than watching videos, because if you type UI designers, you'd see it. But if you read blog posts or articles, you'd see the difference between the three skill set I mentioned, the three product designer, UX designer, and UI designer, and you see how they are actually different. Then you're able to pick whatever interest. But please, Figma is just not the first thing you should do. So the second question, I won't really say it's a question. It's more like the person came in to realize that design or like building a product is more of 70% research and 30% design. And I answered the person in the comment section, but what I want to explain and clarify is design 70% research and 30% design. Well, I wouldn't really give like a fixed number to any section or any aspect, but what I want to tell you is you cannot do design without actually making research, because what research does, or what that phase does, is to guide your decision regarding whatever output you want to put out there. You know that for any product interface, there are several things that people had to put into consideration before like concluding on their output. Now, if you are solely focused on just doing design, you can definitely be a UI designer, just plain UI designer, just designing interface. You won't necessarily have to do research. But if you want to be that all-in-one, or you just want to be all-rounded, you would actually know that design has more to do with your research, the feedbacks, what the user needs before the UI. And UI, like I feel like even designers, we spend more time trying to conclude on the direction for the design and trying to answer questions like, how can they do this thing better? How can we improve this experience? And spend lesser time designing the interface. So I don't really know if you understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I wouldn't really put 70-30 as a gauge, but what I would say is absolutely, like when it comes to a product, it is more on research, feedback, and all of other things than the household. So the household is just like, after all our decision or our research, this is what we actually came up with, and is solving that particular problem. So I do hope you understand that. So another question is, do I need to go to a boot camp or a course before I become a product designer? So you don't necessarily have to join a course or a boot camp to be a product designer or to have that skill, right? But the only difference between you trying to surf the internet like YouTube and watch courses randomly is that when you go to boot camps or a course, or you basically pay for like a Coursera course or a Google course, like something that has more structure. I mean, yes, like something like that is like there's structure to hit, there's a guideline to hit. It kind of make it easy for you to understand the basic, like every single thing. Like someone is asking if knowing Figma is enough, you would know that there's more to design if you join camps like that. When I started out trying to figure things out and trying to type in like what I did was I read an article on product design, and then I listed out the key points, the key things that I needed actually, and I started watching videos on each topic. Now there's no connection. Like there's this how would I put it? It's kind of like not connected in a way. It doesn't feel like a seamless or a structured way of me learning. And I was just like learning bit by bit. I really did not know how well they sync into each other. But then I joined a course, and that helped me put everything in a seamless way, in a structured way, and that kind of like helped me better. So should you join a boot camp? The answer is you don't necessarily. Like if you do not want to, you don't necessarily. The only advantage it gives you is the structure. But if you have a sense of what you need to do, like you have like the curriculum, you can try looking for materials on your own, especially if you feel like you need to pay for those things and the certificate is not really, trust me, let's be real, most of the certificates are not really necessary. Like you will not necessarily use it. You will not. I think it depends, but most of this Coursera and most of them are really that recognized again, right? Yeah, they're not like really recognized again. So instead of you trying to say that, I don't really have money for boot camps and all, just look for a curriculum, something that can give you structure, and look for materials that can help you deal with each section. I feel you can also do that one as well. So it's you don't even necessarily need it, but if you can join one, then do join it. But it's not important. Like it's really not important, trust me. So the next main question that I want to clear is this statement: I need to be a genius or naturally creative to be a product designer or to be a designer. Now, I feel like there was a time whereby I feel like, trust me, people that are designing fantastic products are extraordinary. Like they are born with the innate ability to design and do very, very well. It's actually no, like that's not the reality of things. Everything can be learned, right? You don't have to naturally have that ability. Now, in color or you being creative, someone that can actually come up with fancy things, it can be an addition to you learning skill. It can be like an advantage. I really don't know if that's the thing, but it can be an advantage. But is that a reason why if you love product design, you shouldn't do it as a course? The answer is no. And I want you to see that even, I think the last question or the previous question I answered was how design is more of research than designing, right? So if you feel like your weak point is actually designing interface, but you want to be a product designer, you can be more of a user experience designer. Like you deal with building experiences. Now, building experiences has to be with you trying to solve problem, you trying to improve the steps people will take when performing certain tasks on design, you understanding human computer interaction, you understanding how people relate to things, you understanding the type of interaction people would use when dealing with that product, you understanding how best and how easy it is for people to relate with the product you're putting out there. So there is more to design than just the interface. So if you feel like your weak point is that interface, you can actually not focus on that. It can also be learned, but you might actually want to focus more on your strength than your weakness. Like just focus on things that you can do very well and capitalize on that. Now you can also learn that, but that shouldn't be an excuse. That shouldn't keep you or prevent you from learning product design as a skill. Like you can learn anything as long as you put your mind to it. Trust me, you can definitely learn anything. And I knew that I've said this before, but now honestly, if you come and meet me, bro, you do not need to be like nobody. I mean, yeah, it can be a gift, but you don't necessarily need it. You don't have to. You don't need it, honestly. Like it's just you solving problem. If you're a good problem solver, you're a good designer. Trust me. This one is a question I feel like I hacked myself, and I got my answer along the line. But someone asked me, and I was like, oh, so people are still like curious about this thing. So what is it like? Do I need to learn coding to be a product designer? or UX UI designer? Now, notice if I'm saying product design, I'm literally saying UX UI. Like you can do every single thing when it comes to products, right? The answer is no. Now we have certain skills that are like UI engineers, and these people can actually implement whatever design they do. We have people like that. We have UX engineers as well now, but is that like a skill that people would capitalize on when trying to hire a product designer? The answer is no. It's not a criteria. It's criteria for certain title like UI engineer, UX engineer, but for a product designer or a designer generally, you don't need to learn how to code. Now, sometimes they might put requirements like you knowing basic front-end programming language or markup language like HTML, CSS, or CSS in particular, because the knowledge of CSS would help you when you're designing things like grids, or you're trying to, design components or design systems. You know that if you have a knowledge of how it can be implemented, you will not design stuff that cannot be implemented, or the developer will find it difficult to implement. I feel like it's just like an additional skill to have, but it's not really an important thing. You can learn it along the way, but if you're just starting out, you do not need to capitalize on it. There are several other things you need to focus on when you're starting out programming language. So no, you don't need to know how to code to be a product designer, but if you know how to code, it's an advantage. If you've watched this video to this point, do also give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and share to people you know would benefit from this video. I am on the road to basically getting 1,000 subscribers. We're currently on our way to 700. Yay! So yeah, do also subscribe to this video if you're just coming across this video, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you. Give this video a thumbs up and please share so it can reach more people. So this next question is quite a straightforward one. I would actually say it's quite easy to answer. Now the question is, do I need to know any other tool aside from Figma, or is just Figma when it comes to research and the other tools? Like there are several other tools you can use to carry out research. You can use to track your analysis. There are several other tools like that. But do you need other tools aside from Figma? My answer is, I feel like Figma covers a lot, and that is why it's like a capitalized tool that people would expect you to know. So they won't necessarily focus on the research tools or the tax tracking tools. I feel those are like collaborating tools that you do as a designer, while the major one, which is the major tool you'll be working with for your output, is Figma. So you don't really need any other fancy tools. You don't need to learn other fancy tools. Learning other software can be an advantage, like maybe Workflow or Figma, or other designing platform can be an addition, like Photoshop. But there's certain Photoshop skills that you can also implement on Figma. So if you understand how to use Figma very, very well, you will not necessarily need to learn any other fancy tools, trust me. And the whole concept of you learning Webflow and Figma websites, the one Figma is also trying to even make Figma site, and I feel like they've even put it out for like better testing and all like that. But if you understand how to use that one, that's like really enough. So you don't need any more fancy tools. It's just that, don't start with Figma. That's what I'm going to say. But you don't need to learn any other complicated stuff aside from Figma. Once you understand it, that's like it. But when you're trying to get insights, there are other tools for those ones. But most times you can get insights everywhere, anywhere. You can make survey from Google Forms. You can basically test products in other platforms. But people don't really capitalize on that because you can easily use any other software for it. So yeah. But if you know and you do have other software that you work on, please, you can capitalize on them. So this one is quite a myth. I won't say it's a myth or like a doubt or like a question, but I would put it out there. So it goes as this, like, if my design looks good, then it's a good product. And if my design looks bad, it's a bad product. I don't know how to put it, but I'll just like say it's however it is. So there's a thin line between efficiency and aesthetics, right? When it comes to good design is essentially, does it solve the problem you're trying to solve? Does it tackle the problem? That's one of the questions you need to ask. I've seen some sites that look really good but have bad experiences. Yes, I still have that experience actually this last week, and I'm like, this is a good design. It has a good design, but it has a bad user experience. So sometimes good designs might not necessarily be good design because it has good interface, like good outlook. Good design sometimes comes when it's actually solving a problem, and when your user is using it, they can easily go through it. It's easy to use, easy to understand. They don't need tutorial. They don't need 10-step tutorials to use your tool. You do not overcomplicate certain things. You basically go straight to the point. You're able to make it easy for them. Those are other factors that you need to consider if you want to say your design is a good design. But when it comes to aesthetics, I've seen certain designs that are not really aesthetically pleasing, but actually solve, like they're actually performing what they are meant to do, like they're doing what they're meant to do, like literally doing what they're meant to do. And the interface can be improved on, but experience before you can improve experience, you have to basically take like honest feedback and like put other things into consideration to improve an experience overall, right? But for interface or the aesthetic overall, it's not the final determinant of a good design. There's a whole lot to having a good design, and because your interface is a bad one, if people find it easy to use, if people find it that okay, this particular product is solving my problem, trust me, you would have more users using that product than a design that looks fancy and not doing anything. Like, you would see certain stats and be like, oh my god, this design is not really good, but the stats, the users, the people that are downloading it and people that are using it are like a lot than someone that spent hours just trying to improve the interface because one has good experience than the other. Like, just understand that and know how to balance both, know how to design a good layout and also a good experience. I don't like leaving one out. Like, they are always hand in hand, because what's the point if you have a very fancy thing that is not really serving its purpose? That's not a good gauge for anything. So I feel that should answer your question when it comes to determining what a good design is, essentially. So the last question I have with me is, do I need to niche down immediately? How do I know if I want to go UI design, UX design, product design, like generally you want to do the two together? So you cannot really know why you're starting out. Like, you cannot necessarily niche down while you're starting out. Like, trust me, some people started as front-end developer and end up, going into the design phase, and they go by the title UI engineers, right? Some people know how to do research and they're very good at collecting insights, and you basically see yourself as being UX researcher, UX user experience designer. The point is, you just want to start where you are currently at. Don't overcomplicate things, don't overthink things, don't make it too complicated that you'd start doubting if you're even doing the right thing. What you want to do is just start small, start where you currently at, and over time you would really know what you want to do. When I started out, I felt it was just UX UI design, right? But right now I know what I want to do and why I am in this field and what exactly I want to do going forward. Like, you get clarity over time. You don't really get clarity like at once like that. You get over time. It's not just, it doesn't come like at once, like sparkle. No. Sometimes some people can even change field entirely, and the idea they have in product design would help them in that particular position, right? So don't make things too complicated. You don't need to niche down right now. You don't need to pick one specialty immediately. You'd figure it out over time. Just pay attention to it and be more keen to growth than just, I want to start doing this. Just be growth oriented, because even at every stage that you are currently, you're still growing, you're still learning. You have not reached that final phase. Like, please, like, there's always more to do. So I feel like those are the questions that I have that I want to answer on this video. If I have not treated your question, or you see that, oh my god, I still have this, I'm curious about this, is this how this is, am I doing the right thing? If you have any of those doubts, you can put it below this video, comment on this video, and also just let me know. And if any of these answers are not really clear to you, you can let me know in the comment section. And if you're someone that also have answers to some of these questions, you can also put your opinion in the comment section. So you guys should have a nice day. Yeah.